Hello, back again on the Top Recap channel. This time I will tell a movie's entitled Universal Soldier. Let's get straight into the storyline. The story begins during the Vietnam War, when a squad of US soldiers is sent to eliminate the Viet Cong hiding in a village. The story will focus on a 25-year-old soldier named Luke, who watches his comrades die one by one. Eventually, he is the only one left in the squad. As Luke begins to enter the village, it turns out that another soldier, a sergeant named Scott, managed to survive. However, his condition looked worrying. Scott seemed to be suffering from mental insanity due to the extreme mental stress of the battlefield. This is evident from his actions of stringing ear into a necklace and threatening to kill two innocent locals.
Sarge, what the hell happened here? They wouldn't listen.
Seeing this, Luke, who still has common sense, tries to persuade Sergeant Scott to go home. However, Scott forces Luke to kill the two locals. Because he refused the order, Luke finally witnessed Scott, who was no longer able to think clearly, kill the two locals.
That's an order!
At that place, Luke and Scott shot each other. In the end, both were declared dead on the battlefield. The next morning, troops from headquarters arrived to evacuate the bodies of Luke and his team members, including Scott. The leaders received special orders to put their bodies in ice cube crates, although the purpose of this was not explained.
Pack them in ice.
Some time passed after the Vietnam War ended. The story then continues to the United States, specifically during a hostage-taking by terrorists at a dam. As the location of the hostage-taking was quite difficult to reach, the police had a hard time handling the case. A special division was deployed to help resolve the situation. This division has a secret project called Universal Soldier, which consists of former soldiers who died on the battlefield. Two of them are Luke and Sergeant Scott, whom we saw earlier in the film. One by one, the terrorists are taken down with ease.
Take aim. Hot fire.
Check one. Okay, here we go.
One large Universal Soldier disguises himself as a technician to infiltrate the dam. This makes it easier for Luke and Scott to take down the terrorists. Somehow, Luke and Scott are now alive again. Surprisingly, they were very obedient to orders from the operator. At one point, however, Luke was left speechless when he saw two hostages who looked similar to the Vietnamese villagers Scott had killed. However, having no control over themselves, Luke and the Universal Soldiers could only follow the operator's orders. After the hostage case was solved, the journalists immediately rushed to the colonel, who had an essential role in the Universal Soldier project. One of the journalists, Veronica, seemed very ambitious in uncovering information related to this project.
As to the identity of the Unisols, that still remains classified. Excuse me, I have other matters to attend to.
Yui? I've got an idea.
No, you don't.
Meanwhile, Luke and the other Universal Soldiers were taken back to headquarters, which turned out to be a large car with special facilities. They are resting in a super cold room that restores energy and stamina. This is where it is finally revealed that the Universal Soldier project is secret. The goal is to create soldiers who are invincible, fearless, feel no pain, have no doubts, and have no will of their own. They were created solely to obey orders without question. What is controversial is that this project is believed to have carried out many practices that violate humanitarian norms, such as using the bodies of soldiers who have died on the battlefield as experimental subjects without asking permission from their living families. Technically, Luke and his friends are undead who have been resurrected to become super soldiers. Since their old memories are still stored in their brains and sometimes appear due to triggers, the people in charge of the project routinely inject a special serum to erase the old memories and replace them with new memories that only have one command: to obey and follow whatever the superior orders are. Moving outside, Veronica and one of her journalist friends were seen arriving at the headquarters location. Her ambition as a journalist to uncover the truth about the legality of this project has made her desperate to open a crate containing the body of a soldier who was shot by the terrorists. While Veronica was taking his picture for evidence, the operators realized Veronica's presence through CCTV cameras. As a result, several Universal soldiers were dispatched to capture and prevent Veronica from escaping the facility.
Redemption. Let's get out of here.
Finally, Veronica and her best friend had to get into a car accident. Luke and Scott, who happened to arrive first, immediately asked them to hand over the camera. But because the friend refused to give it, Scott suddenly shot him.
Let's film and return to base.
The film.
Fellas. I don't know what you're
Unexpectedly, that moment triggered Luke's last memory, so he immediately took Veronica away from the location. At the same time, Scott continued to shoot at them. On the way, Luke stopped the car after the colonel gave him an order. However, Veronica immediately threw a communication device on his head so that Luke would not obey anymore.
hell is that thing?
Traitor.
As Luke was shot in the chest, a panicked Veronica told him to stop the bleeding immediately. Luke immediately took the car's cigarette lighter and pressed it against the gunshot wound to stop the bleeding.
Bleeding has stopped.
Moments later, their car stopped again as it ran out of fuel. Luke, again showing his abnormality, got out of the car and pushed the car to the nearest petrol station. There, the owner told them that they were out of fuel and would be refueled the next day, so they decided to stay at a nearby motel, unaware that the colonel and the Universal soldiers were on their way to catch them.
Have a nice day.
Not long after they are in their room, Veronica finds out about her best friend's death, which has been fabricated as if she were the culprit. Just as Veronica called her partner for help, Luke was sweating so badly, as if he was in heat, that he stripped off all his clothes. And when he was almost unconscious, Luke asked for lots of ice cubes to cool his body.
Ice.
And yes, Veronica was again surprised to see Luke's gunshot wound heal on its own. From that, we can conclude that cold temperatures can restore the Universal soldier's body condition relatively quickly. Shortly after Luke recovered, Scott and the other Universal soldiers appeared per the colonel's orders. They immediately bombarded the motel, however Luke escaped by breaking through the wall.
61, take positions at the rear of the motel. Locked in.
Luke and Veronica hide under a blanket, successfully tricking Scott and the Universal soldiers.
I think we lost him.
It's impossible.
You have a car?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
In fact, they could escape immediately using a car belonging to one of the visitors.
Are you sure they're not following us?
On the way, Veronica asks many questions about who Luke is and what he's like.
And just who the hell are you?
Luke suddenly stopped the car and saw another Universal soldier car chasing him. He quickly found a small petrol station nearby. He again undressed in front of Veronica to look for the tracking device hidden inside his body.
I think I found something.
Take it.
Take it?
Shortly after, the colonel appeared with the Universal soldier, who immediately descended to surround the petrol station. They were ordered to attack with full force.
Full charge.
No, trick us! Hold on!
Fine.
Portable coolant, quick!
Luke managed to trick the colonel by hiding in the trunk of a car full of ice. The Universal soldiers were so badly burned that engineers had to intervene to extinguish them one by one, with each unit worth $250 million. That's when Veronica took the opportunity to get into their car and look for files that might be strong evidence regarding the legality of this project. When they were about to escape, Scott suddenly appeared and immediately attacked Luke. After Luke and Veronica escaped, Scott began to show signs of rebellion. He no longer obeyed orders from the Colonel, especially after the communication device in his head fell off during a fight. He immediately shot the Colonel and got into a car to declare that he would now be the one giving orders.
We have a mission to complete. I'm giving the orders from now on.
2 scientists are left alive. Scott is seen injecting serum into his body to increase his muscle strength. As he is recovering in the cold room, the 2 scientists begin to devise a plan to stop Scott's ruthless actions, starting with taking away his firearms.
Are you ready? It's memory clearance time.
There is now only 1 scientist left alive. Scott stops his car in a crowded area to ask if anyone has seen Luke or Veronica. However, as it was mostly truck drivers who didn't like Scott's cocky style, they mocked his question, even throwing bottles and cans at him. The scientist intended to destroy the base, including all the Universal soldiers, by ordering 1 Universal soldier to hold a grenade. However, stupidly, the scientist's finger was grabbed by the Universal soldier, and when the grenade exploded, he exploded with them. Seeing his colleagues injured, Scott immediately dragged them into the cold room of the supermarket. After recovering, Scott returned to his brutal ways by shooting all the police officers who were trying to arrest him. Meanwhile, Luke and Veronica are seen eating at a restaurant. When Veronica comes out to call someone, Luke, who hasn't eaten since his death, starts ordering a lot of food. This is the center of attention for everyone in the restaurant, including the waiter who asks Luke whether he will pay. Still, since Luke doesn't understand the concept of payment, the waiter immediately calls in some of the restaurant's big men to beat Luke up.
Question is, how are you going to pay for it?
Finished with the business at the restaurant, the 2 of them immediately went to a trusted doctor who could be used as a person to reveal the rottenness of this Universal Soldier project. After the task was completed, Veronica said goodbye to Luke to return to her home. However, suddenly, Luke and Veronica were arrested on charges of killing Veronica's best friend and vandalizing several places. On the way to the police station, the situation became tense when the Universal Soldier Squad used a car to chase them. After all the officers are killed, including the bus driver, the bus starts traveling in the wrong direction. Scott uses this to cause terror, such as throwing several grenades into the bus, leaving Veronica struggling to survive. And when the bus enters a steep cliff path, there, Luke told Veronica to jump. But being too scared, Veronica had to be pushed out by Luke. Luke, who jumped too late, was dragged towards the cliff. However, he managed to climb onto the bus and shoot one of the Universal soldiers, so Scott was the one who was trapped and fell into the ravine. After it was all over, Veronica took Luke to her parents' village home, where it was revealed that Luke was presumed dead on the battlefield 25 years ago, meaning that technically, he was 50 years old. When Veronica was about to go home, Scott reappeared.
Looking for something?
Apparently, he was still alive. Scott immediately takes Veronica hostage and threatens to kill her if Luke doesn't turn himself in.
Wow! You really had beautiful ears! She's a fucking goop traitor! I gave you an order to kill her, now you're gonna have to fulfill that order, Private. War. It's over. Not for me.
Luke, who had the opportunity to attack, delivered multiple blows. However, the blows had no effect on Scott. Instead, Luke was thrown far. Scott then asked for a serum to increase his strength. After being beaten to a pulp, Luke had to feel the pain when he was forced to witness the death of the person he wanted to protect. Scott deliberately throws a grenade at Veronica, who is running, reminding Luke of a similar incident that happened to a Vietnamese woman 25 years ago. With the power of his anger, Luke slowly rises from his despair. Despite his anger, he could still not take down Scott, who had been injected with the serum. To make the fight more even, Luke secretly injected the serum into his own body. Now, Luke has become stronger, just like Scott. Eventually, Scott is overwhelmed by Luke, who now has equal strength. The fight ended when Scott's body was stuck in a grinding machine. Having pretended to be dead to trick him, Luke turned on the machine, making Scott's body shatter. After everything was done, it turned out that Veronica was still alive. Luke then focused on strengthening his memories to live his second peaceful life.